This will be a demonstration of the Webstersizer, or Das Webstersizer, which is mostly for Steve, its future owner. Hello Steve, thank you for commissioning me to build this. It was very fun. Just turn the volume up a bit, I hope it's not too loud. Seeing as though it's already set up for light control, I will demonstrate the light control first. That's just over here. You can see how sensitive it is, it's really good. And you can control it with a shadow from far away. This is the level control. Everything has a level control on the output, which makes it easy to mix different things together. I'll demonstrate the filter a little bit as well. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put all the oscillators into the filter. Let's see if I got enough wire for this. I don't have enough patch cables, you see, so I'll just cobble things together with some scrap wire. Bit of a cacophony. The output of the filters is a little quiet, but that's okay, you can just turn it up. Oh, this is the external input tuning. I'll go into that later. This is the cutoff control on the filter, resonance control. You can hear how it goes a bit mental at high resonance. You can just turn the resonance down a bit and it's okay. Let's turn the resonance right up. It likes to self-oscillate when you turn the resonance right up. Let's put in some saw waves. Modulation going in there. Tell you what, I'll swap some things around and put in LFO control of the cutoff. And I'll put in this oscillator as well. Control the amount with the level control of the LFO. While I'm here, let's go into the LFOs. We have one LFO here, and one LFO here, with the output of the first one here and the output of the second one here. The first one is slower, can go really, really slow. It can be triangle, like that. or square like this. And then we have a second LFO which is faster than the first one, so you can get the faster frequencies more easily with this one. And same waveforms, triangle and square. Hopefully I won't get too carried away in this video just making funny noises. Right, let's demonstrate one of the oscillators now. We don't have to put it into the filter to get it to the output. You can just take the output mixer and plug that into an oscillator, but it might be quite loud. There's one saw wave, and we can invert the saw wave, but it sounds exactly the same unless you put it through a filter, or turn this dial, which mixes between saw on this side and pulse or square wave on this side. There we go, I like that frequency a bit better. Over here we have a main offset control, which I advise you adjust first so it doesn't do that and turn off completely when you turn the frequency down. But that's mainly for tuning it in very, very precisely, you know, with one of those little trimmer potentiometers that's adjusted with a screwdriver. And then we have an amplification control for this input, which you would input your hertz per volt control voltage signal and then tune it in with this one, while also adjusting the offset control to get it in the right position, because you'll need to adjust both of these to get it just in tune. And make sure this is turned. See, when I turn this one up, it's an automatic detuner, but it's actually the other control voltage input, so you can input an LFO there and get a little bit of vibrato or something. Let's do that right now. Vibrato. So yes, here's your main frequency control, and as you turn this one up with nothing in, the frequency goes up, so always make sure it's turned all the way, to the left. Now what we'll do is we'll turn up this dial a bit and mix in the square with the saw, and you'll hear things have just gotten quite interesting. Isn't that an interesting saw wave? I think it's a very interesting saw wave now. We turn it to about there, and then adjust the pulse width. You can get a saw wave with weird pulse width modulation sounds. Oh, by the way, pulse width control here with a control voltage input, so you can put in an LFO or something. Let's do that now. Let's LFO modulate the pulse width of the saw. Well, it's not really modulating the pulse width of the saw, it's modulating the pulse width of the pulse width wave, but it's mixed with the saw, so you get a saw-like waveform with a pulse width modulation sound. Isn't that good? I think that's good. That was completely saw. As you mix it in, it goes a bit quieter, but you can just turn up the output. And if we invert the saw, it sounds different again and louder. This is the saw inverter switch, by the way. Let's just manually adjust the pulse width. See, that's completely saw now because I've adjusted the pulse width to less than 0%. Let's see if that sounded any different to a square wave. I think it did. I think it sounded sawier, because it is sawier, but anyway, there you go. That's the main details of an oscillator. And there's 3 oscillators. Output level control. So you could turn this down really low and use it to modulate the filter and get some really weird sounds. In fact, let's do that quickly. We'll put a different oscillator into the filter. Actually, swap these cables around. Now let's demonstrate the low pass filter as well. Not quite as good as the high pass filter, but it works. It's voltage controlled and it has resonance. I'll put it in this one. Ooh, wrong one. Now that's something else important. Don't accidentally put your outputs into outputs. You know, don't connect 2 outputs together. And make sure you're putting the right things into the right places. You can put a signal, you know, a voltage controlled oscillator output into the control voltage input, but you should be wary of doing things like that. Now, take the output. You can hear it's nice and high pass filtered. I'll turn it over to the square side. Turn up the volume a bit. Turn up the resonance a bit. Let's put in 2 oscillators. One a saw and one a square. do is I'll just use a bit of wire to connect the light control to the control voltage input. Ooh, next I'll demonstrate the... Yeah, you don't want to touch the lead connected to the output. Next I'll demonstrate... that was touching the lead connected to the output again. Oops, bit loud there. Hold on, hold on. Demonstrate the envelopes by putting them into the frequency control, which is not amplified, just the what I call the bog standard frequency control. There's a button here to activate the envelopes with attack and release control, and a level control as well. And you can trigger these envelopes with, say, a square wave from the sequencer over here. Now I'll just reconnect the output. I used the... So now you'll see that it's in time to this little flashy light here. And I'm turning the level up now on the output. So you can make LFOs out of that. There are different shapes. And there's two of those, both exactly the same. So you can put one into each filter. Or put two into one filter, because there are two control voltage inputs for each filter, along with the main cutoff control, of course. Now let's try the sequencer. I don't have enough cables to hook it all up, you know, every single output in as I would like to, but it's still usable, still entirely possible to use it. What we have here is 8 different outputs of the sequencer, which are each half the frequency of the previous one. So that's the same frequency as this blinky light here. Oh, and you've also got an external clock in, so you can put in the LFO or any other waveform which is 0 to 5 volts peak to peak. And it's expecting a square wave as well. Oh, and your external input, very simple. You've got an amplification control, external input with a jack plug and an output. And you can put your guitar in there or something else. You might need you know, a guitar might be a bit quiet, but you can adjust the levels of all the oscillators down so they're about the same volume, and then control it with the volume control on the main output. Now let's see, what was I going to do there? Oops, I just made that mistake I told you not to make. Plugged an output into an output. I meant to plug that into the bog standard frequency control. Let's see if... Didn't break it, that's a good sign. I've put in protection between the outputs, but you know, it's always a good idea to not plug your outputs together. Now let's use these bits of wire over here to put things into the sequencer. You can see when something's plugged in or connected because this little associated light comes on. Oh, and you've got 4 inputs there, and you can put anything into these inputs, like the oscillators or the LFOs as well. So you can get some interesting things going on there by putting different things other than these 8 outputs into these 4 inputs. Tell you what, make a very quick ghetto plug. Ta-da! into there. We'll turn this up. We'll turn the level of this up. Turn the frequency up a bit. That's a slew control there, that was on a little bit. The slew control controls whatever is going into those four inputs. Four inputs there, couldn't really see them, arm was in the way. I'm just plugging these in at random really, but you can plug them in such a way that they play a proper tune, not just a random tune. Turn it over to the saw wave. Let's put the oscillator into the filter and then control the cutoff of the filter with that control voltage we were generating with the sequencer there. I'll have to use another ghetto connector. Turn things up a bit. It's very easy to overload the control voltage input. So you have to attenuate things quite carefully. It's no problem if you overload it, it'll just go like this and be completely open all the time. Let's change the sequence by changing which inputs are connected where. Oops. Knocked out the crocodile clip. Let's change it around a bit. When you've got better connectors, it'll be significantly easier. And this switch changes between the external clock input, which nothing is connected in, so it's effectively paused the sequencer, and the internal clock input, which is controlled by this dial here. Ooh, I know what to do next. Let's do the signal heterodyner. That's what happens with the filter on high resonance. I'm all tangled up in my wires. Now, signal heterodyner. That's these three inputs here, and this output with level control. I'll turn that. Oh, the level control works backwards on this because I wired it up wrong, but it's, you know, it worked so well wired backwards, I just thought I'd leave it like that. Turn these all over to square. Works better with square, but you can put in a saw as well. Sounds a bit different with a saw, even though it's not really intended to. Now some of these, I should mention as well, some of these sockets around here that are a little bit taller have no bottom, so you can't just go sticking wires in them, but some of them that are shorter do have a bottom. There we go, we've got something going on there. Oops. Make sure these are all turned up. This is so much fun. Now let's put the light control into the pulse width modulation control of one of these. Oops. The ghetto plugs don't work very well. That's one of the ones without a bottom. Actually, I should plug in a different lead so that I don't poke some circuitry and ruin everything. Oh, and you can just put two connections in here. You don't have to put in three. Gives you slightly less of a cacophony. Oh, and I think that's the end of the video, actually. Yep, I think I've demonstrated pretty much everything as well. Oh, one last thing. There is a signal splitter here, which you can use to get 3 LFOs out of 1 LFO, which is useful if you want to modulate 2 things with 1 LFO. There we go. I hope you like it, Steve.